Welcome to the Sheepless Life podcast. We are your hosts, Yvonne de la Flor
and Severine Nassens, and we are the founders of the Sheepless Life Academy. Join us at sheeplesslife.com for a free and exclusive masterclass on sheepless living.
We created this podcast for women like you, who are ready and eager to live and lead without the herd mentality.
Women who are ready to be, not who your parents told you to be.
Not who the system expects you to be.
Not who the media wants you to be.
But who you can truly become.
So relax, step out of the herd for a moment.
Grab something to sip on and have a pencil at hand just in case you feel the urge to take some notes.
Let's get the show on the road.
Welcome back to the Sheepless Life podcast. This is transmission number 29. And today we will have a chat. We will tackle the inner critic. On this side of the microphone, Severine Nassens from Cancun, and on the other side, the amazing Yvonne de la Flor, straight from Las Vegas. Yvonne, how are you today?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Severine. I'm doing well. I love the topic that, Severine, that you chose for today. And that, I think we pre-chose it, but
yes.
I like that you chose it for today. I think it's going to be, for anyone that chooses, enlightening, and for the inner critic, either defeating or a triumphant moment.
Indeed, and the inner critic, I think, is something that has been with humanity for forever, basically. But it started to come up in psychotherapy with Jung and Freud. And over the last few years, it has been brought to my attention quite a lot on how to work with that inner critic, how to learn to dismiss the negativity and turn it into an ally. So today we're going to talk about a little bit about that. And the first topic that we want to approach is what exactly is that inner critic? And there's many theories about it, but in general, it comes down to that inner voice. It's like in the when I was reading up on it, I got this image in my mind of Tom and Jerry. I don't know if you remember those cartoons.
I love Tom and Jerry.
Where Tom has this angel and devil on his shoulders, and I've always thought about my inner critic as this little devil talking down on me and telling me that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, that I'm doing stuff wrong, and it's a pretty harsh voice. It's a pretty tough one. If you tap into that, it can totally bring you down. It has brought me down in the past, and luckily I've received tools over the last couple of years to deal with it and to not tap into that negativity of my inner voice. However, it does pop up every once in a while. It's still there.
Yeah, well, the inner critic, love that you brought psychotherapy and all of that background. But for me, the inner critic, the first thing I will work, if I will be talking about that inner voice, is the belief that we associate the inner critic with negativity immediately. We think that the inner critic is only negativity, when in truth it's part of ourselves, it's part of our psyche, it's part of, as you were sharing, the animals, the soul aspect of everything, the darkness, the shadow within us, and the light itself. The inner critic not exactly has to be negative all the time. The inner critic can defeat you if you choose to give it that tone to that inner voice, just by the definition that thinking that the inner critic is negative, we by then are declaring defeat long before we even listen to its own inner voice. But if we understand that the inner critic has the potential to become an inner cheerleader, has the potential that which it criticizes has the ability to give us a reference that maybe this voice is not mine. Maybe I can improve something in me. Maybe I can let go more of my ego and live more from my heart. The ability that we have to face this type of concepts that in humanity have been branded by psychotherapy or psychology as something dismissive as something negative, will give us leverage to transform our lives.
Yes.
And so we have a topic like soon. So what is that inner critic, right? What is that inner critic? Is that voice that will either judge you or that will show you all the prejudices, all the voice of the shadow that you don't want to own. The voice of the shadow aspects that you don't want to own, whether they are yours or not. Whether it's the voice of your mother echoing as the voice of your inner critic, whether it's the voice of your father echoing as a memory of your inner critic's voice, whatever that is, when it's coming from within, it's signaling to us that we're not taking responsibility for some parts of who we are. We are everything, where the inner critic is not an antagonistic force. It's just an aspect of our psyche, an aspect of our shadow letting us know, you have some work to do. You have some disciplines to practice. You got some love to give. You got some understanding to enter into. You have some opportunity to enter the realm of self-compassion that will liberate your soul. But as long as we see it as a separate aspect of ourselves, we're going to fight a devil. We're going to split our consciousness. We're going to generate duality. And in that duality, we're going to live in an eternal struggle of how do I defeat this inner critic so I can, instead of an inner critic, have my self-esteem rise even more. So my invitation is to this inner critic voice is study it, befriend it, watch it, him, her, eye to eye, because it's all you. Yes. It's all you. Even the voices of the external world, once they become internalized, they're yours to be able to master them, accept them, learn from them, reject them, whatever that is. So the inner critic can be an inner ally if we choose to hear its voice instead of with the ears of rejection, with the heart of a true investigator of its own consciousness, of its own evolving soul.
I think it's a very beautiful way of stating it and making it our ally. Having that criticism going on in our head, analyze it and make it your own. Own that. It's a very powerful exercise, and there's a lot we can learn. I think from our own inner critic. I have learned a lot from my own inner voice, from my own inner critic, telling me, giving me a lot of hints of belief systems, just as you mentioned before, the beliefs that we have through our education, through our society, the belief systems that we have made our own will be reflected by that inner critic. And it's a beautiful way of turning that into our ally. Now, Yvonne, could you please share with us how you would suggest for others how to transcend that inner critic and totally make it your ally?
Yeah, and you used another word, right? When we were talking about the topics, I said, I'll talk about transcendence and you talk about something else. I love what you said, the words that you were going to share. But to transcend something is to understand and accept everything. The first step of transcendence is to accept that everything you are is here right now, that there's nothing split. Even the belief systems, even the theories of the concepts, the denominations, the meaning that we give to everything. If we understand that all that is and all that was and all that will ever be is all that we are right now, we are entering the realm of personal investigation, of inquiring, of entering deep into the knowledge of our own soul. We're entering with the white flag. We're entering through peace. If I enter to get to know myself, my beliefs through a battle, through a rejection, it's going to be harsh. So the first thing of transcendence is to understand it, to bring such deep compassion, to really kind of like it's a divine surrender into this inner critic, inner voice, inner ability to enter into the inner realms of the soul. Because whatever is within is going to be without. And the moment we split the foundation of the internal, we're going to create more diversity and more experiences that will shatter those concepts that we have because they are illusion. and bring us back to the awareness of the now. So to transcend it is to understand it. And how you understand it through love. The Buddha used to say something beautiful. Once you understand that which happened didn't, forgiveness takes place. And so we can create characters. I've done exercises where I give a voice to the inner critic. My inner critic used to be called Joseph. I just thought it was a great name for my inner critic. It was male, but it was still like kind of the carpenter vibe, the father of Jesus, and very apostleship-like. And so there was hope for the inner critic to transcend, to evolve, to ascend, to transform into love. And so once I gave it a name, I started working on it, but really to transcend it is to understand it and to honor that it exists. Because if you're having an experience of duality, if you're having an experience of negativity, let's put it that way, or positivity, whatever it is coming all from you. And so I choose to enter through it and to it with love. I mean, I have far much more leverage and possibility to create a much better reality, attract much better outcomes, create better results in my business, in my business, in my life, in my relationships, and raise from the faults of being human and just continue to live a life of love and deep transcendence when I enter any experience through the commitment of love. So the first step, I will say, honor it. Second step, acknowledge it. Third step, love it. Love it all. Inner critic, you are here and you are telling me that you are never going to be worthy. I hear you. I may believe you, and I love you. I hear you. I may believe you, and I love you. And you will watch. And the natural essence of Source is to evolve itself into its own essence, which it already is. So the more we accept something without deflecting, because one of the dangers of the inner critic is that we justify with our inner critic voice the criticism we give unto others. Mm-hmm. We justify that we think we know what is best for others. We try to convey our belief systems through our own inner critic biases. We try to give inherit others, our own biases, justified by our inner critic voice. So the inner critic will sound like this when we do that. Like, oh, you and I, you know how that feels, right? We both are in suffering. You and I, we both are stupid. You and I, we both are crazy. Or you and I, we both are insane. Mm-hmm. So I will invite everyone, if you really want to transcend the inner critic voice and to bring deeper understanding to you and literally enter into the realm of that you are worthy of love, that you are worthy of every single thing in your life that you want, that you have, and that you are trying to manifest in your life. It's bring peace to that awareness, bring peace. Don't have anybody join your inner critic party. Just because you are criticizing another, which is a mirror of the criticism in you, doesn't give you the right to invite others to join the party of the inner critic world. And so welcome your inner critic with love. Begin to see it eye to eye, honor it, and the transcendence will be a natural ebb and flow of the evolution of consciousness.
We have still I have still a long way to work with my inner critic, and I think it's a beautiful way of putting it, and making it your ally, befriend your inner critic, so that together we can go into transformation and transcend, yes. As you stated before. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that came up as you were sharing that, Yvonne, is that would you recommend for people to use the Ho'oponopono technique to start forgiving and loving the inner critic?
Yeah, that's a good one. I love, Ho'oponopono is such a high frequency. It has like the hertz frequency of 5 to 8 hertz is the frequency of love, unconditional love. And really, whatever you put in the presence of unconditional love will transform, will transcend, will ascend. The inner critic, you are even going to never think that you even had an inner critic, because the critic exists when love is not present. The critic exists when love is not present, and that's even an impossibility because love is the essence of reality. But the only way love cannot be present is when we forget it is already there. And so it's kind of like, I love the Honoponopono. Maybe one day we can let's do a podcast on that one day,
Sure.
because it'll be great to share it with people. But Honoponopono is a technique, Hawaiian technique of healing, which literally goes like this. If you have an inner critic, for example, my inner critic used to be called Joseph. Now it's just all of me. And you will say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And there's really nothing to be sorry for having an inner critic. There's really something that the inner critic won't forgive you. If the inner critic is good at what it does, he won't forgive you. He will get you pissed off. It will want you to react. It will want you to reject. It will want you to defy. It will want you to be right. And it will want you to think that it's negative, that its negative nature is real and its negative nature is you. So just the more you say I love you, the more you say I welcome you, the more you say, yeah, I see you, I am you, and I got this shadow in me, and I got this darkness, the more you'll delight, the inner critic will shine through it. And so, yeah, what a great advice. Thank you, Sarah.
Sweet. Well, we would invite everyone to look up the Ho'oponopono, and we will program a podcast. I like the idea of doing a podcast exclusively on Ho'oponopono because it's a technique. It's really simple and easy to do. You can do it all day long, whenever you wish, wherever you are, and it works. It totally works to up your frequency and have a talk with your inner critic in a very positive and enlightening way.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool that we go to parties or with the people that we tend to criticize in automatic pilot, or to judge others, or to think that we know what is best for them, for another? Wouldn't it be cool to arrive to a place and say, hey, hi, how are you, Sebe? Great, I hope you receive me and my inner critic. We both came to your house today. So wouldn't that be, hi, Sebe, are you coming with someone? Yes, just me and my inner critic. Oh, welcome to the party. That would be so cool.
That'd be fun. The only thing is that it would be kind of interesting to meet all the other inner critics of the rest of the people in the party. That would be a very interesting party.
Well, we're meeting them every day.
Yes.
We're meeting them every day with the illusion that we think we are and all of that. So we're meeting them every day. The inner critic is behind any person that you feel judged by, or that they judge you or attack you with words, or they put the projections or the perceptions of you. The more we polish this, that's the most exciting part for me on working all these aspects that some of us sometimes try to avoid because we want to pretend that we are so pristinely spiritual, not knowing that when we want to do that, we're more egoic and more inner critical than when we are actually saying, I have a shadow, my inner critic is with me. Who's with me? No one, just you, right? It's me and my inner critic. But the most exciting is that the more we take ownership of this, the less power it has over us, because this energy, this frequency lives, and all that remains is a clear mirror. And you begin to be such a strong mirror for others, where others can begin to experience their own divinity. And they can also begin to experience that it is okay to have an inner critic and love it all. So that's my say for this Inner Critic podcast of the day.
Amazing. Well, my inner critic and myself were going to check out. And I'd like to invite all the people that are listening and their inner critics to share this podcast with your. Be
cool. They can leave us messages. Hey, how would you name your inner critic? Give us message. Give us your feedback. What is the script that your the inner critic usually uses? Does it start with in the morning? Is it an afternoon inner critic kind of guy or gal? Is it a nighttime owl? When you're about to sleep, you're like, finally, I'm going to go to sleep, and you didn't do anything right today. What is it? Share with us. And what name would you put your inner critic if you would love him or her? And I invite you to love it because it's with you most of the day. So that's all.
Well, actually, I have a little secret to share. Mine has a name too. It's called Firulais.
Oh, Firulais is a cool name in Mexico.
So I'm taking Firulais out of here. I wish you all a blessed day, and we'll hear you next week. Thanks, Yvonne.
Bye-bye.
Subscribe to this weekly podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Share your thoughts with us on Facebook.com/Sheepless Life Academy and learn firsthand how to live a sheepless life with Yvonne and receive an exclusive in-depth masterclass at sheeplesslife.com.